Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and recently probably that I posted a video where I put together a $200 budget PC. Now, I'm still recovering, so in an attempt to speed up that process, I will be putting together today a $1,500 gaming PC. So just hopping right in, we can see that there's an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, 8-core, 16-thread, 3.6 gigahertz of base clock, and 4.4 gigahertz of boost clock. Now, AMD users are probably like, yeah, this is a solid option. It's really good for the price that the budget that we're aiming for. Hopefully, I'm giving you hints here. And Intel users are probably going to be like, oh, why didn't you go with the Intel Core i7 9700K? Just offers so much more gaming performance wise. Well, yes, it's true. It gives you a slight gaming edge at only at 500 megahertz. But it's also $100 more, which I don't think justifies 500 megahertz of base clock or boost clock. I don't think $100 is justified. And there's also many other reasons. Another reason is that Intel's motherboards are just they just cost so much more than their AMD counterparts. Also, the AMD this specific one has a much less TDP. Its TDP is much lower. It's going to eat through less power. And yeah, that's why I didn't choose Intel for this. And getting into the cache, we have an L3 cache of 32 megabytes, an L2 cache of 4 megabytes, and an L1 cache of 512 kilobytes. So all in all, I think this is a pretty solid option because I mean, it's for the reasons I just explained, and because it has PCIe Gen 4 support, something which Intel still hasn't brought to the table. So, with that, I think we can just move straight into the motherboard. So for the motherboard, I chose a Asus ROG Strix B450F gaming AM4 socket, obviously. And this is an absolute bang for the buck because you're getting out of the area where you have no bells and whistles, just the bare bones, and you're getting into the more high-end stuff. Although it's not an X570, and the reason I didn't choose an X570 motherboard is because it costs so much more, and I don't think it's within our budget to get something like that. However, if you really are super keen on getting it, you can. It will end up costing you a bit more, but you can take advantage of the Ryzen 7 3700X's PCIe Gen 4 support. So taking a look at this closer, we have an 8-pin power connector, none of that 4-pin nonsense. It has 4 DIMM slots, can support up to 2 M.2 drives, it has 2 PCIe 16-lane slots, and let's see, the rear I/O, we have some input for your peripherals, USB 2, okay, that's interesting. We have USB 3.1 Gen 1, Type A and Type C. We have a display port which would be useful for troubleshooting. Unfortunately, we don't have integrated graphics, so we can't use this for troubleshooting. However, it is useful to have it. HDMI, we have USB 3.1 Gen 2, 2 of those. LAN for you to hardwire yourself to the internet. And here we have USB 3.1 Gen 1. Why is this guy all alone? This is so depressing. Okay, getting away from that disgusting scene, we have 5 audio outs and 1 optical out. I think that's what it is. And yeah, thank you for verifying that. It's kind of like a quiz when you verify everything and you're like, please, please, please be right. So yeah, pretty solid option, I think. So now let's go to the heart of the gaming system, and the most exciting part, easily, the EVGA GeForce RTX 2080 Super KO Gaming GPU. That's a mouthful. At $710. We have here, it brings to the table 8 gigabytes of GDDR6. 8 gigabytes is a lot. It's more than enough for what we need. And it brings to the table ray tracing, RTX on, like great things like that, which just brings an entire new dimension into your gaming experience. Oh yeah, it has a max boost clock of 1815 megahertz, and I know this might not sound a lot compared to its AMD equivalent, but hear me out. These are two completely different architectures that we're comparing, and you just can't compare the two. And speaking of architecture, it has 3072 CUDA cores, which is a pretty big step up from the 2070 Super and the 2080. So I think it's a pretty big bang for the buck at $710. And I did want to apportion at least half or less, or around half of our budget to the GPU, as this is going to have the biggest impact on our gaming experience. Now, I don't recommend this for a $1,500 gaming setup, but you can remove this from your system and add in a AMD Radeon RX 5700 XT and lose out on like 20%. If we numerized it, you would have 20% loss in gaming, in your gaming experience, which I don't think is worth it. But you can you can use the PCIe Gen 4 support, and you can add in a X570 board. However, I think it all evens out in the end, and that this is just the faster card in general. I mean, this thing can just eat through 1080p. It's overkill for 1080p gaming. It's just targeted for 1440p gaming at well over 144 FPS, and it can even get your foot into the door to 4K gaming, which is actually pretty good if you're into that. But it's more targeted to 1440p, so it's pretty good bang for the buck, I think. Well, not bang for the buck, but it's a pretty good power card. And it's also, I wanted to mention oh yeah, it's the same price on Amazon. I'm just using Newegg because I just wanted to be as many of the parts to be on the same platform as possible, just to make it simpler overall, because eggs are becoming the new standard to rating stuff. So, while these things are super powerful, we also want it to not get super toasty inside, so we need to have a cooling solution. Obviously, we can't use the included Wraith Prism cooler that's included with the with our CPU, but we need to use a cooler master. Well, we need to use a radiator, an AIO more specifically, a Cooler Master Liquid ML240L RGB V2. Why does the names of these have to be so complicated? It can just be like the Cooler Master 2, Cooler Master 3, 4, 5, you know, but no, it has to be like ML240L. Too much. Here we have a 240mm rad, two 120mm fans, and it's RGB, so it's gonna make our system look nicer. We have a water block, or our block here, for our CPU, and obviously it fits the AM4 socket, or the AMD Ryzen. What else? Oh yeah, it includes an RGB controller, and it's only $80. This is one of the cheapest I could find, that wasn't one of those obscure brands that you don't trust. So yeah, that's why I think this thing is like one of the best that I could find for $80. So we need to stuff this all in a case. So I chose the Fantex Eclipse P400A, and you might have just noticed that I switched to the RGB version of this, and that I have very good reasons for that. Okay, it's $20 more, but you get an extra fan. Hear me out here. You get an extra fan, and it's RGB, and it's a $1,500 gaming rig. So for this price point, you want it to look good also. I mean, you want your friends to be jealous. You want them to be so jealous of this build, right? So that's why I chose the RGB version. Now, in the end, if you decide that you don't want this RGB fancy stuff, you can easily just shave off $20 and just go with the normal standard version. So, taking a closer look at this, let's take a closer look at this. Come on, give me the pictures. Okay, there we go. So I think that's USB 3 to those, mic in, headphone in. You have some fan controllers, RGB controllers for the RGB version. We have a full mesh front panel. This is what I love about this. Awesome airflow. It also features some nice fan speed control settings, mode button, color button, and just a lot of stuff for this $80 case, or $90 case technically. So it has a magnetic dust filter, it has removable panels, tempered glass, you can mount your GPU vertically, and I just wanted to show you guys the radiator support. So ours is going to be a 240 millimeter rad that's going to be mounted right here, and you can just reroute the other 3 fans to one here, and one here. And down the line, if you decide that 120 is not enough, you can always upgrade to a 140 and have 2 of those instead of a 120. So that's enough for the case. Let's see. Yeah, now is the RAM. This is the part where I tell you why I didn't choose a more fancy version. I mean, this thing is an absolute bang for the buck. Let's look at the positives first. It's a Ripjaws 5 series, 16 gigabytes of 3600 speed, and it's 288 pins, DDR4, all that standard stuff. It doesn't look like the fanciest thing, but it has a cast latency of 16. It has a TRCD of 19, a TRP of 19, and a TRAS of 39. Now, if it just sounded like I spewed a bunch of gibberish at you, it's because I did. But if you just want to ignore all that stuff, just keep in mind that the cast latency is 16, and this is the amount of time between the read time and the moment that information is available. So it has to go through 16 clock cycles at 3600 speed to make that happen. And this is only $77, an absolute steal, I think. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, I just wanted to explain why we have a not the fanciest looking thing. Look, the RAM, to make RAM look really nice, it costs like $25 more just to make it look nicer. But, I mean, taking a closer look at it, you can see it's only 3000 speed, and the cast latency and the timings on it are probably so much lower that it's not even worth going for aesthetics over just a lot more performance. Now, you might be saying, well, you just spent $20 more on a RGB fan case. Why are you doing that? Well, hear me out. For that one, you got an extra fan, and my philosophy is that if you get better performance out of something that doesn't look as nice, then that's better than having something that looks nicer but you're sacrificing performance. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to spend more money here while there's already a lot of other lighting in our PC. So basically, spend more money in the right amount of places and thou shalt be rewarded in a very significant way. Where your PC doesn't end up looking bad, but it's also very the performance is very good. So moving on to our power supply, let's just get this over with. It's an 80 plus bronze unit. Let's look at the positives first. It's modular. Well, it says it's non-modular. For some reason, it says it's non-modular, but you can clearly see that it's modular. And also, now we can focus on the negatives. Or actually, one more positive. It's only $80. You're getting 84% efficiency or higher under typical workloads. But now it's time to point out the negatives of this and start roasting it. I mean, the positive still is that our Fantex has a power supply shroud so that we can hide this hideous looking green stuff. I mean, it's disgusting green. I mean, you could have it at least be a little darker shade or lighter shade, but no, it had to be this. Okay, I mean, I can't even look at that anymore. Now, this is a better shade of green, and also this is an absolute steal at only $55. You get a 3.5 inch hard drive, 7200 RPM, 2 terabytes. I mean, you can't go wrong with this. It's absolutely beastly, in a good way. Its 5 pictures are well deserved. Now, there's not much to be said because all of it is good. You know, it's only $55. Similar ones probably cost more, and it's really awesome stuff. And you're seeing it popping up around in more and more places now that it's becoming more popular. Okay, last thing. We can't have a $1,500 system without an NVMe SSD. Now, you may be surprised to see it's only 256 gigabytes, but this is more than enough to hold our OS, our browser, and maybe a few frequently used applications, unless you're planning on downloading COD to this drive, in which case I would be like, well, how big is the game, first of all, right now? However big it is, it probably won't fit in this game, in this drive. So it's PCIe Gen 3. It's pretty standard stuff. It's 3D TLC NAND flash, and it comes with a heatsink. You gotta appreciate that. I mean, even at higher price ranges, you don't see something like this very often. And it's only $46. It's an absolute bang for the buck, I think. There's many bang for the buck things in the system, and I made it that way on purpose. You probably noticed that. What else? Yeah, I think that just wraps it up. I know it's a pretty weak ending. I should probably end it on something like a GPU, but you know. Anyway, I think that brings this video to a close. Comment down below if you thought you have like a better list, or you could have made some improvements, removed some stuff, or added some stuff. Feel free to comment that down below. I would love to hear from you guys what you would have changed about this. Toss a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss another tech upload. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention how much this came up to. This came up to be $1,540.47. Remember, you can shave off $20 more, but that brings the video to a close. I better close it right now. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you all stay safe. See ya.